Rain hammered the sidewalk like 1,000 tiny fists the night Daniel first saw her. He was hurrying out of the grocery store parking lot, jacket pulled over his head, keys clenched tight, just trying to get home before the storm grew worse. But then, through the sheets of rain and the glow of a flickering street lamp, he noticed a small shape. Still, silent, alone. A child, a little girl sitting in an old wheelchair, soaked to the bone, shivering and crying softly into the crook of her arm. Something inside him froze. Something deeper than fear. Because no child should ever look that defeated. No child should be abandoned like that. And in that instant, Daniel realized this wasn't just a tragic scene to walk past. It was a moment. One that would change his life forever. Before we begin this heartfelt story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. And if you're moved by what you hear today, drop a comment below. You're watching TruthLines, USA, where real stories touch real hearts. Daniel wasn't the type of man who believed he was a hero. He was a single dad trying his best, working long shifts at the auto shop, taking care of his 7-year-old son, Levi, and stretching every dollar like it was elastic. But despite everything, he always tried to live with kindness. His mom used to say, "Life's hard, Danny, but it gets softer every time you help someone else." He never forgot that. So when he saw the girl in the wheelchair, shaking with cold as the storm drenched her, he didn't think twice. He rushed over, kneeling beside her. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay?" he asked gently. She didn't look up at first. Her long brown hair hung wet over her face. When she finally raised her head, he saw the fear in her wide eyes, the kind of fear that tells a whole story without a single word. "Where are your parents?" he asked. She swallowed hard. They left," she whispered. Daniel blinked, unsure he heard her right. "Left? Like, they're coming back?" She shook her head. "No, they left." The wind howled, and thunder cracked so loud it rattled the windows of the nearby shops. Daniel felt a knot twist in his stomach. He couldn't leave her there. It wasn't even a choice. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Emily." "Well, Emily," he said, offering a small smile, "how about we get you somewhere warm, huh?" She hesitated, looking down at her small, trembling hands. "Are you sure?" she whispered, as if kindness was something she didn't expect from anyone. "I'm sure," Daniel said firmly. "You're safe with me." He lifted her gently from the soaked wheelchair and carried her to his truck, buckling her in. He grabbed the damaged chair and folded it into the back. As he drove, he kept glancing over, making sure she was warm enough, comfortable enough. She stared out the window, watching raindrops race each other down the glass, as though memorizing every tiny movement. When they arrived home, Levi ran to the door. "Dad, oh!" Levi's eyes widened as he saw the girl. "This is Emily," Daniel explained. "She's staying with us until we figure out how to help her." Levi nodded, the way kids do when they accept things faster than adults ever could. "Hi, Emily. You want some hot chocolate? My dad makes it real good." Emily's eyes softened for the first time. "Okay." Inside, wrapped in a warm blanket, hands curled around a steaming mug, the girl finally began to open up. Her parents hadn't always been like this, she explained. Things got worse over time. Money problems, fights, anger. Her mom left first. Then her dad changed, becoming someone she barely recognized. She tried to be extra quiet, extra helpful, thinking maybe he would stay if she was easy to take care of. But that afternoon, he drove her out to the store to pick something up, wheeled her to the curb, and then drove away. She waited for hours, thinking maybe it was a mistake, but it wasn't. Daniel felt his heart break in slow, heavy pieces. No child deserves that, he said softly. Emily didn't cry. She just nodded, like she'd already cried everything she had. Over the next few days, Daniel reached out to authorities, shelters, and social workers, trying to figure out the right steps. He knew there were rules, and he wanted to do everything properly. But while the adults tried to sort out paperwork and procedures, something else was happening inside his home. Levi and Emily became instant friends. They played board games, drew superheroes, and watched cartoons sprawled across the living room floor. Emily's laugh slowly returned, soft at first, then bright, like a spark reigniting. And Daniel? He found himself caring for her in a way he didn't expect. Not replacing her dad, but being something steadier, something kinder. One evening after dinner, Emily asked quietly, "Why are you being so nice to me?" Daniel paused, drying dishes. "Because everyone deserves kindness, Emily." She fidgeted. "Even me? Even if I'm a lot of work?" Daniel knelt beside her wheelchair. "Listen," he said gently, "you're not work. You're a person, a good one, and you deserve to be loved and cared for." Tears gathered in her eyes, but this time they weren't from fear, they were from relief. Later that week, a social worker finally arrived. Daniel expected her to take Emily away, at least temporarily. He had prepared himself for that moment, but it still made his chest tighten. The social worker listened to everything, how he found her, how long she'd been with him, what he'd done so far. She spoke with Emily too, and Daniel noticed how the girl clung to his sleeve, unwilling to let go. After a long pause, the social worker said, "Mr. Harper, Emily has no immediate family able or willing to take her in. Until we find a longer-term placement, would you be open to being her temporary foster guardian?" Daniel blinked. "Me?" Emily looked up, hope lighting her face. "Yes," the social worker said, "if you're willing." Daniel didn't even need to think. "Absolutely," he said. Emily reached for his hand, squeezing tightly. Over the next weeks, life at the Harper household changed in the best possible way. Emily got fitted for a new modern wheelchair, thanks to a local charity. Daniel drove her to physical therapy, cheering her on as she worked hard to strengthen her legs. She helped Levi with homework, and Levi taught her silly jokes he picked up from school. The house that once felt quiet and sometimes lonely now echoed with laughter, footsteps, and the everyday chaos of family. One chilly morning, Emily received a letter. It was from her biological father, written from a rehab center. In shaky handwriting, he apologized for everything he had done, owning his failures, admitting his addictions, and explaining he checked himself in after abandoning her because the shame nearly crushed him. He didn't know if she'd ever forgive him, but he wanted to try to get better. When she finished reading, Emily looked up at Daniel with tears in her eyes. "What should I do?" she asked. Daniel placed a hand over hers. "That's up to you. You don't have to forgive him right away, or ever, but you can choose what's best for your heart." She nodded slowly. "Can we send him a letter back, just to say I'm safe?" Daniel smiled. "Of course." Weeks turned into months. Emily flourished, emotionally, physically, mentally, and somewhere along the way, the social worker pulled Daniel aside. "Mr. Harper," she said, "Emily has made it clear she feels at home here, and after evaluating everything, we'd like to ask if you're open to adopting her." Daniel felt the world tilt, not from shock, but from a sudden, overwhelming sense of rightness, like everything in his life had led him to this moment. He looked over at Emily, who was coloring peacefully with Levi at the kitchen table, humming a tune, her shoulders relaxed in a way they never were when he first found her. "Yes," Daniel said, voice thick. "Absolutely yes." When he told her, Emily burst into tears, joyful ones this time, and threw her arms around him the best she could. "You saved me," she whispered. Daniel shook his head gently. "You saved us," he replied. "You brought more love into this home than you'll ever know. Kindness is powerful. It changes lives, not just for the ones receiving it, but also for the ones who give it." Daniel didn't rescue Emily because he had extra time or money, or because life was easy for him. He stepped up because kindness isn't about having plenty. It's about giving what you can. And sometimes, it's as simple as stopping in the rain when someone needs you most. So today, let this story remind us all. One act of kindness can rewrite someone's entire future. You never know whose life you might save, or how deeply your heart might grow in the process. Go out there, be kind, be brave, be the reason someone believes in good again.